reaching 30. It's time to wrap up this hour's news. Thank you for joining. You're listening to BEFM 부산영어방송.
Your best choice. BEFM 부산영어방송.
Coming up next is Busan Worldwide with Stephanie Yoon. BEFM 부산영어방송.
An early departure will be planned for all participants in the 2023 World Scout Jamboree from the campsite in the Saemangeum reclaimed land in the southwest South Korea. And the city of Busan is taking the lead in developing tourist programs for as many as 10,000 Jamboree participants. 네, 잼버리 대원들이 떠날 때는 한국에 대해 좋은 인상을 가질 수 있도록 남은 기간 최선을 다해야겠습니다. Yes, during the remaining period, the focus will be on leaving a positive impression of Korea as the participants depart. Well, this is Busan Worldwide, and I'm your host, Stephanie Yoon. Welcome to Busan Worldwide and good morning on this lovely Tuesday morning indeed. And it is August 8th. Thank you so much for tuning in to BEFM Busan 영어방송. Now, talking about the World Scout Jamboree, to ensure that Busan can host a large number of participants from the 2023 Saemangeum World Scout Jamboree, preparations are underway to secure lodging facilities and organize tourism programs to showcase Busan's industries, culture, history, and nature. 네, 부산시가 2023 새만금 세계 잼버리 대회 참가자를 수용할 수 있도록 숙박시설을 확보하고 부산을 알릴 관광 프로그램을 준비하고 있습니다. Now, these programs, tourism programs, will include guided bus tours, allowing participants to explore major attractions such as Haeundae Beach, Taejongdae Park, and the western part of Busan. 이 태풍 상황에 따라 부산에서 대회 참가자들을 유치하지 못할 수도 있지만 만일의 경우를 대비하는 건데요. So here's to hoping that by experiencing Busan, the Jamboree participants will gain a favorable impression of the city and South Korea at large. Well, listeners, before we move on to talking about what kind of segments we have prepared for you here at Busan Worldwide, I do have a PSA message for you. This is an emergency broadcast from BEFM. The Ministry of the Interior and Safety has issued this PSA at 10:57 a.m. on August 8th, 2023 nationwide. Today, the daytime maximum heat index is around 35 degrees Celsius nationwide, and a nationwide heat wave warning and heat wave advisory are in effect. There have been fatalities from heat-related illnesses in rural areas. To prevent heat wave damages, please make sure to stay hydrated and seek a cool place if you experience dizziness, nausea, or headaches so that you could prevent heat-related illnesses and thoroughly prepare for the heat wave. This was a message from the Ministry of the Interior and Safety. Well, now, listeners, the time is now 11:08, and let me briefly tell you what we have going on for the next hour. So coming up next, we have the interview, and for our today's interview, we do have two special guests in the studio. These are two students who are selected as a 2023 YY서포터즈. So we're going to hear all about what they're doing, what their goals are and hopes are as well. And after that, we have Up Busan 2030, and as well as Correspondent Report. 오늘은 인도네시아 통신원과 연결하고요. As always, we are live live on YouTube. I believe it wasn't working for a couple, maybe 5 minutes, but now it is up on YouTube. So you can go to YouTube and search BEFM or 부산영어방송. You can check out our studio in about 2 minutes. You can check out our guests. We have 2 guests, as I mentioned. And you can even send us messages on YouTube. So go to YouTube and like and subscribe as well. And as well, you can send us messages through Kakao Talk or pound 9050. Well, from Busan to the world, Busan Worldwide. 오늘의 더 인터뷰 라이브로 만나보시죠. Now it's time for the interview. Now, the YY서포터즈 are a group of reliable helpers who work to support Busan tourism, and they kicked off last month. So YY서포터즈 stands for Young Island and You, which is from the slogan of the Young Island Busan project, which aims to promote a new image of Busan through tourism. So the 2023 YY서포터즈 is composed of tourism majors from local universities here in Busan and will participate in tourism policy making of our city as well, create and promote Busan-related content. So joining us today are 2 students who are selected as 2023 YY서포터즈. Please welcome Ms. Kang Lee-kyung and Mr. Lee Dong-soo. 네, 부산 관광을 응원해줄 든든한 조력자들 YY서포터즈가 지난달 발대식을 가졌습니다. 이 부산 지역 대학교 관광전공 재학생들로 구성된 2023 YY서포터즈는 앞으로 관광정책 현장에 참여하고 부산 관련 콘텐츠 제작과 홍보 활동도 펼친다고 하는데요. 오늘은 2023 YY서포터즈로 선정된 2 학생을 만나봅니다. 강이경, 이동수 학생입니다. 안녕하십니까?
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
네, 반갑습니다. So first, could you please say hello to our listeners and introduce yourselves? 먼저 2 분 자기소개부터 부탁드릴게요.
안녕하세요. 저는 동아대학교 관광경영학과 강희경입니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 투스데이 런치클럽 팀의 이동수입니다. 저희는 이번 YY서포터즈에서 투스데이 런치클럽이라는 팀으로 참여하고 있습니다.
오, 이 Tuesday Lunch Club이라고 하셨는데 왜 Tuesday Lunch Club이죠?
좀 간단한데요. 저희가 이제 같은 학교, 같은 학과 친구들이면서 또 매주 화요일마다 이제 수업 공강 시간이 겹쳐서 같이 밥을 먹는 거에서부터 좀 시작이 됐습니다.
아, 그렇군요. 네, 반갑습니다. Now, they share that they're from a Tuesday lunch club from YY서포터즈, and we're going to hear a bit more about this. Now, their name for the group, Tuesday Lunch Club, is due to them just gathering together every Tuesday, having lunch, having this goal together, and of course, sharing that time together as well. So we're going to hear all about how they actually got involved with YY서포터즈. 이 YY서포터즈는 어떤 계기로 참여하게 되셨나요?
저희 팀원들은 다 학교 친구들입니다. 학기 중에는 같이 밥을 먹으면서 수업도 듣고 같이 밥을 먹었는데요. 그렇게 시간이 지나면서 학기 때뿐만 아니라 방학 때는 간단하게 당일치기로 여행을 가기도 했습니다.
네.
네, 일정상 멀리 가지는 못해 부산 근교나 부산에서 주로 만났는데 같이 노는 거를 SNS나 블로그에 기록으로 남기곤 했습니다.
네.
항상 여행을 갈 때마다 한 명은 운전 담당, 한 명은 계획 담당, 한 명은 총무 담당 이런 식으로 각자 역할이 나누어져 있었습니다. 이 경험들이 관광 현장에 참여하고 콘텐츠 제작과 홍보 활동을 주로 하는 YY서포터즈의 취지와 맞는다고 생각을 했습니다. 친구들과 함께 서포터즈로 활동하면서 많은 사람들에게 우리가 부산에서 느꼈던 즐거움과 정보를 전달할 수 있다는 것은 뜻깊은 일이라고 생각을 했습니다.
네.
그렇기에 서포터즈로 활동하며 경험과 추억을 쌓고 싶어 참여를 하게 되었습니다.
그렇군요. 이 부산에서 느꼈던 즐거움과 또 정보를 전달할 수 있다는 것은 뜻깊은 일이라고 생각해서 참여하게 되셨군요.
네.
So she shared that a lot of YY서포터즈 are actually friends from school. So during the semester, they took classes together, had meals together. Over time, they started going on trips together, not only during the semester, but also during their vacations. And since they couldn't go far due to class schedules, they usually met up in or around Busan, and they would document their times together on social media or blog. And one would always be the driver, one would be the planner, and one would be the accountant. So they figured that these experiences fit the purpose of YY서포터즈, which is is to participate in the tourism scene and take the lead in content creation and promotion activities. They thought it would be meaningful to be able to tell many people about the fun experiences that they had, as well as share useful information about Busan as supporters, and that's why and how they joined. Now, the YY supporters have rather unique tasks, monitoring or reporting our local tourism businesses, attractions, and transportation networks as well. So what kind of places or businesses is the Tuesday Lunch Club focusing on? 이 YY서포터즈에 주어진 미션이 예사롭지 않습니다. 우선 지역관광 기업이나 관광지 그리고 교통망 등을 모니터링 또는 취재를 하게 된다는데요. Tuesday Lunch Club은 어떤 장소나 기업에 주목하고 있습니까?
예, 우선 부산 내에서도 이제 뭐 해운대, 광안리와 같은 좀 알려진 지역이 아니라 서구, 뭐 중구, 영도구 같이 좀 원도심에 조금 더 중점을 두고 취재할 계획입니다.
네.
사실 원도심 안에는 이제 옛 흔적들이 아직까지 우리 생활 곳곳에 남아 있는데요.
네.
하지만 좀 일상생활 지역이다 보니까 오히려 스쳐 지나갈 확률이 더 많았습니다. 그렇기에 유심히 찾아보지 않으면은 알 수 없었던 그런 이야기들을 홍보해서 여행이 좀 더 풍성해질 수 있게 컨텐츠를 만들어 볼 계획입니다.
그렇군요. 이 부산의 원도심에 중점을 두고 취재할 계획이라고 말씀해 주셨어요. So he shared that they plan to focus a little more on the original city center of our city, such as 서구, 중구, and 영도구 district, rather than the already well-known areas like 해운대 and 광안리. There are still traces of the past in these original city centers, but people are more likely to just think nothing of them because they pass by them every single day. So the Tuesday Lunch Club plans to create content to promote stories that you can't find unless you look for them so that people can enrich their visits to Busan and city centers. Well, you're also tasked with covering and creating content about travel destinations in Busan. So I want to ask, what is your favorite place or think is the most fascinating place in Busan? 네, 우리 부산의 여행지를 취재하고 또 콘텐츠를 만드는 미션도 주어졌는데요. 부산에서 가장 좋아하는 혹은 매력적인 곳은 어디라고 생각하십니까?
저는 해운대에 쭉 살아왔고 근교를 놀러 가더라도 기장이나 송정 등 동부산 쪽으로 많이 가곤 했는데요. 대학교가 서구에 있다 보니까 서구 주변에도 매력적인 곳들이 참 많은 것을 알게 되었습니다.
네.
저는 그 중에서도 다대포 해수욕장을 제일 좋아하는데요. 항상 보던 해운대나 광안리 그리고 송정 바다들과는 전혀 다른 매력을 가지고 있다고 생각합니다.
네.
특히 다대포 해수욕장 간조 시간에 보는 일몰은 제가 본 일몰 중에 최고라고 생각을 하는데요. 일몰을 바라보며 생각을 정리하기도 좋고 사진을 찍어 SNS에 올려서 인생 사진을 걸린 친구들도 여러 봤습니다.
네, 맞습니다. And personally, I love Dadepo Beach. So she shared that she always lived in Haeundae, and even when she would go on trips around Busan, she would often go to the eastern part of the city, such as Gijang and Songjong. Now, her school is in Seogu, so she found out that there are many places worth visiting in western Busan as well. She says she particularly likes Dadepo Beach the most, and it has a complete different charm from Haeundae, Gwangalli, and Songjong, right? In particular, the sunset at low tide at Dadepo Beach is the best sunset that she's ever seen. And it's a great place to organize your thoughts while watching the sunset. And a lot of her friends took pictures there and posted them on social media. Definitely, we would say in Korean, 인생사진. Maybe in English, we can say just the photo of the lifetime, right? Now, I do want to ask, it's one thing to enjoy tourist destinations, but it's also another to capture it as content for others to see. So what aspects of Busan do you plan to highlight and create content for? 관광지에서 즐기는 것과 콘텐츠로 담아내는 건 또 다른 문제라고 생각되는데요. 부산에 어떤 면을 또 부각시켜 콘텐츠로 제작해 볼 계획입니까?
여행객들은 이제 부산을 떠올릴 때 바다와 같은 자연, 아니면 국밥, 밀면과 같은 먹거리를 가장 먼저 떠올릴 거라 생각합니다. 그래서 저희 팀은 볼거리, 먹을거리와 함께 부산의 이야기거리를 담은 콘텐츠를 제작해보고 싶습니다.
네.
예시로 이제 영도대교가 도개하는 시간에 맞춰서 많은 여행객들이 구경을 하기 위해 오는데요. 큰 다리가 들어올리지는 모습은 언제나 봐도 신기할 것입니다. 저희 팀은 단순히 영도대교 도개 행사가 몇 시에 진행되고 어느 지점에서만 보면 잘 보인다라는 정보를 넘어서 이 다리가 언제 어떻게 생기게 되었는지 왜 이런 모습을 띠게 된 건지 여행객들에게 알려줄 수 있는 컨텐츠를 제작해 볼 것입니다. 영도라는 이름처럼 이제 과거 다리가 없을 때는 배를 타고 이동하는 섬이었는데요.
네.
이제 이동의 편의를 위해서 다리를 지으려는데 그쪽은 배가 다니는 뱃길이어가지고 다리가 생기면은 배가 지나다니지 못하게 됩니다. 그래서 배들도 지나다닐 수 있게 우리나라 최초의 도계교인 다리가 들어올리지는 영도대교가 세워지게 된 겁니다. 이를 통해 나중에 여행객들이 부산 여행을 추억할 때 영도 다리가 들어올려지는 모습뿐만 아니라 그 속의 이야기들까지도 기억에 남을 수 있다면 의미가 더욱 클 것 같습니다.
네, 맞습니다. 이 볼거리, 먹을거리 다 좋지만 부산의 이야기거리와 함께 즐긴다면 더욱더 의미 있는 콘텐츠 그리고 또 여행객들에겐 뜻깊은 여행이 될 것 같습니다. So he shared that when travelers think of Busan, the first things that come to mind are nature, such as the beach and the sea, and food such as 국밥 and 밀면 as well. And their team wants to create content that tells the 이야기거리, which is a story of Busan alongside the sights and sounds. For example, many travelers come to watch the lifting of the Yeongdo Bridge, and it's always exciting to see a large bridge being lifted, right? And it is the one and only one here in Korea, and they want to create content that tells travelers when and how the bridge came to be and why it took and looked the way it does, and beyond just what time an event takes place and from what vantage point maybe people should see it. So he shared that when it comes to Yeongdo Bridge, before, as you can see, Yeongdo meaning island, there was no bridge, there was just an island, and it's actually the path that the Yeongdo Bridge covers. It's a pathway for big ships or vessels. So now they had to make it into a bridge that lifts. So there's that history into Yeongdo Bridge, and it will be more meaningful if travelers can remember not only the lifting of the bridge, but also the stories behind it. And that's the content that they're working on as a group. Now, listeners, if you're just tuning in to Busan Worldwide, we're in the middle of the interview with Miss Kang Lee-kyung and Mr. Lee Dong-soo. There are two students who were selected as the 2023 Young Supporters. And as I mentioned, Young Supporters and YY서포터즈 stands for Young Island and You, which is the slogan of the Young Island Busan project. Now, as students majoring in tourism, what are your thoughts about tourism policies of our city? 관광을 또 전공하는 학생으로서 부산에 꼭 필요한 관광 정책은 무엇이라고 생각합니까?
장기적으로 보면 신공항 건설이 가장 필요한 관광 정책이라고 생각을 합니다.
네.
우선 지금 있는 김해공항은 규모가 작고 주변 민가의 소음 문제로 24시간 운영이 어렵다는 큰 단점이 있는데요.
그렇죠.
이를 극복하기 위하여 가덕도에 신공항을 건설한다면 더 많은 관광객들을 끌어들일 수 있는 근본적인 발판이 될 수 있지 않을까 싶습니다. 또한 가덕도 신공항을 건설한다면 부산에서 관광을 전공하는 저희 같은 학생들에게도 많은 일자리를 얻을 수 있는 큰 기회가 될 것 같습니다.
네, 이 가덕도 신공항 건설이 가장 필요한 관광 정책이라고 말씀해 주셨어요. So she said the construction of the new airport is the most necessary tourism policy. The current Kimhae Airport has a major disadvantage, as we know that it's difficult to operate 24 hours a day due to its small size and noise problems for nearby residents. So to overcome this, building a new airport in Kadokdo would be a fundamental stepping stone to attract more tourists. It would also be a great opportunity for students like them who are majoring in tourism in Busan to find jobs. 그럼 이동수 씨는 어떻게 생각하시나요?
저는 이제 현재도 시행 중인데 저는 모두가 여행할 수 있는 부산이 될 수 있도록 지원하는 정책이 필요하다고 생각합니다. 현재 모두가 여행하기 편리한 부산이 될 수 있게 여러 곳에서 노력하고 있는 걸로 알고 있습니다. 그렇게 장애인, 비장애인의 구분을 넘어서 모두가 부산에서 여행할 수 있도록 뒷받침해주는 정책이 필요하다고 생각합니다.
네, 모두가 여행할 수 있는 부산이 될 수 있도록 지원하는 정책이 중요하다고 말해주셨어요. So he said our city needs policies that can help Busan become a city where anyone and everyone can travel to and in. There are currently various efforts in various places to make Busan a city that's accessible to anyone. We need policies that supports everyone to travel in Busan, no matter what kind of person they are. And I absolutely agree. Well, Busan is doing its best to bring the 2030 World Expo home. So I want to ask, what are your thoughts about the World Expo coming to Busan from the perspective of tourism students? 부산시가 2030 부산월드엑스포를 유치를 위해서 총력을 기울이고 있는데요. 이 부산 엑스포 개최에 관해서 관광전공 학생들의 의견도 들어보고 싶습니다.
올림픽, 월드컵과 함께 세계 3대 이벤트로 꼽히는 세계 박람회가 부산에서 열린다면 막대한 경제적 효과를 가지고 올 것이고 저희 관광 전공 학생들의 입장에서 본다면 막대한 고용 창출의 효과가 있을 것으로 예상되기 때문에 엑스포가 개최만 된다면 이보다 더 좋은 기회가 있을까라는 생각이 듭니다.
네.
코로나로 인해 관광 관련 학생들의 취업이 어려워지고 저 또한 졸업하고 어떻게 취업할까에 대한 고민을 계속 해왔는데 그러한 고민들도 해결될 수 있는 좋은 기회인 것 같아 너무 기대되고 꼭 엑스포가 유치되어서 부산 관광 발전에도 큰 긍정적인 효과를 가지고 오면 좋겠습니다.
네, 맞습니다. I absolutely agree. So if the World Expo, which is considered one of the world's 3 major events along the Olympics and the World Cup, is held in Busan, this will bring a huge economic effect and also a huge job market here in Busan, which is something students would want. That is why there is no better opportunity than the Expo. Because of the pandemic, it is difficult for tourism majors to find employment, and these students have been thinking a lot about how to get a job after graduation. The Expo can be a great opportunity to solve those problems, so they are really excited and hopeful that the Expo will come to Busan and do wonders for our economy and tourism. Well, before we wrap up today's interview, lastly, please share with our listeners and citizens of Busan maybe some of your plans for the future. 마지막으로 두 학생의 졸업 후 계획과 목표도 궁금합니다.
네, 저는 개인적으로 공항을 많이 좋아하는데요.
네.
이제 여행의 시작점인 공항에서 부산으로 온 여행객들이 긍정적인 경험과 이미지를 남길 수 있도록 활동하는 것이 제 목표입니다.
네.
저는 일단 졸업을 하고 유럽 여행을 가는 게 목표고 진로에 대해서 생각한다면 아직 확실하게 이걸 해야겠다고 정해놓지는 않았지만 관광 전공자들이 한 번쯤은 다들 꿈꾸는 한국관광공사에 들어가는 걸 목표로 공부를 해보고 싶습니다.
네, 두 분의 미래를 응원합니다. Rooting for you both. And now Mr. Lee Dong-soo shared that he has a big interest in airports and wants to create opportunities for people coming to Busan through airports to get to know Busan, our city, in a good way. And Ms. Kang Lee-kyung, she shared that for her, she wants to graduate and go on a trip to Europe, and she hasn't decided on a career yet, but would like to study with the goal of joining the Korea Tourism Organization, which is every tourism major's dream, she said. Well, it's wonderful to hear from two students who are selected as 2023 YY서포터즈, and they were Miss Kang Lee-kyung and Mr. Lee Dong-soo. But before we wrap up, maybe I do want to ask if there's anything that you want to share with our listeners, because it is your first time just being on air, so I'm going to ask them as well. 네, 마지막으로 방송에서 하고 싶은 이야기 있을까요?
뭐 자유롭게 얘기하면
네.
사실 이런 이렇게 라디오에 나올 수 있게 된 게 참 좀 뜻깊고요. 아무래도 저희 팀원들이 이제 곧 졸업을 앞두고 있고 이번 활동이 아마 같이 할 수 있는 마지막 활동이 될 것 같은데 이제 남은 기간 동안 저희 투스데이 런치 클럽 팀 다들 힘내서 열심히 해서 좋은 결과 가져보자고 화이팅이라고 얘기하고 싶습니다.
네, 화이팅 화이팅. 이경 씨는요?
저도 이제 졸업 전에 마지막으로 활동할 수 있는 이런 서포터즈를 참여하게 돼서 너무 뜻깊다고 생각하고, 그리고 또 친한 친구들이랑 같이 하니까 저도 이게 정말 서포터즈를 위한 것이 아니라 정말 저희가 놀러 다니는 것 같은 그런 느낌이 들거든요. 그래서 이번 활동도 잘 마무리하고 꼭 좋은 결과도 얻어서 저희도 취업에도 도움이 되고 또 그런 시간이 되었으면 좋겠습니다.
네, 응원합니다. So yes, definitely both of them just really excited for the future, and this is the last opportunity for them to be really involved while in school before graduating. So hoping and rooting for their future. We have a lot of messages coming in on YouTube. 주부로님께서는 YY서포터즈 응원합니다라고 보내주셨어요. Well, thank you so much for rooting for our students here in Busan Worldwide for the interview. 오늘은 강이경 그리고 이동수 2023 YY서포터즈로 선정된 두 학생들과 함께 자세한 이야기 나눠봤는데요. 두 분 오늘 출연 너무 감사합니다.
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 All right, that's going to do it for the interview with the two students who are selected as 2023 YY supporters. Wonderful to see the future of Busan, right? The young generation is definitely the future of the city and the nation, so definitely rooting for them. The time is now 11:28 and 29 actually. We're going to take a quick song break as we have been talking about traveling, especially here in Busan. We'll listen to 볼빨간 사춘기 여행.
자 오늘 떠나요 공항으로 핸드폰 꺼나요 제발 날 찾지 말아줘 시끄럽게 소리를 질러줘 어쩔 수 없어 나 가볍게 손을 흔들며 바이바이 쉬지 않고 빛났던 꿈 같은 my youth 이리저리 치고 또 망가질 때쯤 지쳤어 너 미쳤어 너 떠날 거야 다 비켜 I fly away Take me to London
welcome back to Busan Worldwide. I'm your host, Stephanie Yoon. The time is now 11:33. Hope you're having a safe and cool summer and a day so far. Now it's time for Up Busan 2030. This is a daily campaign segment here at Busan Worldwide to learn more about World Expo until November, because that's when the host city for the 2030 World Expo will be decided on. So let's jump into it. As the Busan World Disability Conference 2023 started at Bexco yesterday, the city of Busan is operating a promotional center for the 2030 Busan World Expo. 네, 부산 세계 장애인 대회가 어제 벡스코에서 개최된 가운데 부산시가 2030 부산 월드엑스포 유치 홍보관을 운영합니다. The Busan World Disability Conference 2023 is a large-scale international event in Busan, presenting an excellent opportunity to promote the theme and sub-themes of the 2030 Busan World Expo. This event is a major international event with participation from around 2,000 people representing 80 different countries. It will showcase a wide range of activities, including policy exchanges and networking related to disabilities. As numerous member countries of the BIE are attending the event, Busan aims to highlight its qualities as a city leading in human rights and actively promote the 2030 Busan World Expo. The promotional center will be featuring a large LED screen and installations showcasing the charm of Busan, including the exhibition venue at the North Port and other attractive aspects of the city, which is a lot. And in line with the theme of the Busan World Disability Conference 2023, the center will be focusing on promoting the caring and sharing section, which aligns with one of the sub-themes of the 2030 Busan World Expo, which is platform for caring and sharing. Also, a promotional team consisting of university students, supporters from the 2030 Busan World Expo will be present at the promotional center to introduce the caring and sharing section and also Busan initiative to visitors. Okay, that was the update for the Busan World Expo daily campaign here at Busan Worldwide. Now, let's move on to the Daily Expo quiz. So, in the 1930s, the World Expos were held with a lot of energy and love, but they experienced a prolonged stagnation due to the World War II and the Korean War. However, the Expo made a comeback with 1958 Brussels Expo in Belgium, and in reflection of the highly advanced scientific and technological developments aimed at humanity's future, the World Expo revisited its original spirit of promoting peace. And that's why the Brussels Expo built a landmark symbolizing the huge capabilities of the atomic energy and its peaceful use for scientific purposes. So here's the question for today. 엑스포 관련 문제 드리겠습니다. What is the name of this landmark that I'm talking about? 네, 브뤼셀 박람회는 원자력의 평화적 이용을 상징하는 조형물을 세웠는데요. 이 조형물의 이름은 무엇일까요? So the question was, what is the name of this landmark? This is a landmark that was built at Brussels Expo. It's a landmark symbolizing the huge capabilities of the atomic energy and its peaceful use for scientific purposes. So what is the name of this landmark? The correct answer is the atomium. 정답은 바로 atomium입니다. So the atomium, I'm not sure if you've seen it. I've never seen it in person myself. I've seen so many pictures of it. I'm sure you have too. It's an iconic landmark and museum located in Brussels, Belgium. It stands as one of the most famous landmarks in the city, and it's an emblem of modernist architecture. It was inspired by the shape of an iron crystal magnified 165 billion times, and it represents the huge capabilities of the atomic energy and its peaceful use for scientific purposes. If you've seen a picture of it, if you've seen it in person, it's metal and it has a bunch of balls connected with little lines, and it is the iron crystal magnified 165 billion times. So the atomium has become an integral part of Brussels' cultural identity, attracting millions of visitors from around the world each year, and it is widely recognized as one of the most important examples of mid-20th century modernist architecture. Well, that's it for Up Busan 2030, a daily campaign for the Busan World Expo. We are going to continue this segment until November, so stay tuned for that. Let's take a quick song break. This is Charlie Puth with No More Drama.
Oh, I got no more drama in my life, and it's such a blessing. I'm so glad I finally realized I'm better without you. I got no more drama in my life, and it's been amazing. I'm so glad I finally realized I'm better without you. Took a year before I recognized that our love had already died. Baby, I was down bad, now I'm healing. Yeah. Some nights you would stay here, some nights you would disappear. Now I'll never go back to that feeling. Baby, I ain't even wondering about everything we could have been. Ever since you looked me in my eyes, turned around and said goodbye. Oh, I got no more drama in my life, and it's such a blessing. I'm so glad I finally realized I'm better without you. I got no more drama in my life, and it's been amazing. I'm so glad I finally realized I'm better without you. You start fights so we're up late, use your lips to manipulate. Baby, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? Make me need it. Some nights you were baby, some nights it was crazy. No, I'll never go back to that feeling. Baby, I ain't even wondering about everything we could have been. Ever since you looked me in my eyes, turned around and said goodbye. Oh, I got no more drama in my life, and it's such a blessing. I'm so glad I finally realized I'm better without you. I got no more drama in my life, and it's been amazing. I'm so glad I finally realized I'm better without you.
Beyond the borders of Busan, bringing the world back to you. Busan Worldwide with Stephanie Yoon.
The country's housing agency is calling attention to
Correspondent Report. That's right. It's time for Correspondent Report, where we connect with our reporters from all around the world. 네, 지금부터 세계 곳곳의 통신원들을 만나보겠습니다. 오늘 라이브로 연결할 나라는 인도네시아인데요. 인도네시아 자카르타의 통신원과 함께합니다. 안녕하십니까?
네, 안녕하세요.
All right, and this is Miss Lee Young-mi 통신원 from Indonesia, and we're connected with our reporter to hear all about what's going on from the nation of Indonesia. So let's jump into it. So today marks the last day of the 31st summer edition of the FISU World University Games held in Chengdu, China, and Indonesian President Joko Widodo visited China to attend the opening ceremony of the event and also held bilateral talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping. So we're going to hear all about what had happened during the meeting. 네, 제31회 청두 학예 세계 대학 경기 대회가 바로 오늘 폐막되는데요. 개막식 참석차 중국을 방문한 조코 위도도 인도네시아 대통령이 시진핑 주석과 양자회담을 가졌다고 합니다. 이 소식 먼저 전해주시죠.
네, 지난 7월 27일, 28일 중국을 방문한 조코 위도도 대통령은 시진핑 중국 국가주석과 양자회담을 가졌습니다. 이번 중국 실무 방문은 인도네시아와 중국의 포괄적 전략 동반자 관계 10주년을 맞아 시진핑 주석의 초청으로 이루어졌는데요. 양국은 호혜적인 방향으로 경제 협력 강화를 논의하는 데 집중했습니다.
I see. So on July 27th and 28th, President Joko Widodo visited China and had bilateral talks with President Xi Jinping. And this visit to China was arranged upon President Xi's invitation to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Indonesia-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. And the discussions primarily focused on enhancing economic cooperation in mutually beneficial directions. Now, Indonesia continues to support the One China policy and maintains various collaborations with China, so let's hear about this as well. 네, 인도네시아는 하나의 중국 정책을 지지하고 중국과 다양한 분야의 협력을 지속하고 있죠?
네, 그렇습니다. 회담 후 두 정상은 양국의 협력에 관한 8가지 사항에 최종 합의했는데요. 주요 내용은 인도네시아 농산물 수출, 환경 및 보건 분야의 공동 연구 개발, 인도네시아 수도 이전 건설 협력, 중국의 육해상 실크로드 건설 프로젝트와 인도네시아 대 중국어 교육에 관한 협력 등입니다. 조코 위도도 대통령은 이 자리에서 중국 내 더 많은 인도네시아 제품을 개방할 것을 요청했습니다.
I see. So following the meeting, both leaders reached agreements on 8 aspects of cooperation between the two countries. The key points include Indonesia's agricultural product exports, joint research and development in environmental and health sectors, cooperation on Indonesia's capital relocation project, China's Silk Road projects, and collaborations in Chinese language education within Indonesia. And President Joko Widodo has also requested to open up the Chinese market to more Indonesian products. 그럼 현재 중국은 인도네시아의 최대 교역 상대국이죠?
네, 맞습니다. 지난해 양국의 교역액은 133억 달러를 넘어섰으며 최근 몇 년 동안 인도네시아 중국 간의 무역 수지가 점점 균형을 이루고 있습니다. 중국 돈이 서구를 떠나고 있다는 말을 들어보셨을 텐데요. 서구에 대한 투자를 철회하는 중국에 가장 많은 투자를 받는 나라가 바로 전기 자동차에 사용되는 많은 배터리의 핵심 성분인 니켈 매장량이 많은 인도네시아입니다.
그렇군요. So the trade volume between the two countries exceeded $13.3 billion last year. And in recent years, the trade balance between Indonesia and China has been gradually stabilizing. You might have heard the phrase, Chinese money flees the Western world. One of the countries receiving a significant share of China's investment withdrawal is Indonesia, which has abundant nickel reserves, a crucial component in many batteries used in electric vehicles. And there's also news that Indonesia will become the first Southeast Asian country to become a member of the OECD. So let's hear about this. 네, 인도네시아가 동남아시아 지역에서 최초로 OECD의 회원국이 된다는 소식도 있죠.
네, OECD는 인도네시아가 글로벌 경제 위축 속에서도 지속 가능한 성장을 이어갔으며 지난해에는 주요 20개국 정상회의를 성공적으로 이끌었다는 것을 높이 평가했다고 전했습니다. 아이들란과 하르타르투 경제조정 장관에 따르면 지난 7월 26일 OECD로부터 통지서한을 받은 인도네시아는 2026년까지 일본과 한국에 이어 아시아에서 세 번째로 OECD 회원국이 되는 것을 목표로 한다고 확신했습니다.
I see. So according to Indonesia's coordinating minister of economy, Indonesia received a notification letter from the OECD on July 26th. The letter expressed the expectation that Indonesia aims to become the third Asian country after Japan and South Korea to join the OECD by 2026. The OECD highly evaluated Indonesia's sustained growth amidst global economic setbacks and also successful hosting of the G20 summit last year. Well, with that, let's move on to our next news. This one is of the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of Korea-Indonesia diplomatic relations. A joint performance of traditional music from both countries resounded in Jakarta during July, so we're going to hear about this. 네, 다음 소식 볼게요. 한국 인도네시아 수교 50주년을 기념해 자카르타에서 국악과 인도네시아 전통음악이 함께 울려 퍼졌다고 합니다. 이 내용 전해주시죠.
네, 주 인도네시아 한국대사관은 7월 28일 인도네시아 수도 자카르타의 그라 박티 부다야 공연장에서 한국 인도네시아 대학생 전통예술교류 공연을 진행했는데요. 이번 공연은 서울대학교 국악과 학생들과 인도네시아 수라카르타 예술대학교 음악인류학과 학생들이 한국과 인도네시아의 전통음악과 이를 재해석한 음악들을 선보이는 자리였습니다.
I see. So on July 28th, the Korean embassy in Indonesia held a joint performance of traditional music between Korean and Indonesian university students, and that was in Jakarta. This event actually features students from Seoul National University's Department of Korean Traditional Music and students from Indonesian Surakarta Arts Institution's Musicology Department. And now she shared that it showcased traditional music from both Korea and Indonesia reinterpreted in a contemporary context. I would love to hear this traditional music being fused together and combined together. 이 한국의 국악기와 그리고 인도네시아의 전통악기인 가물란으로 양국의 전통음악을 연주하는 협연 무대도 있었다고요?
네, 맞습니다. 단연 양국 전통악기 협연 무대는 이번 공연의 하이라이트였는데요. 양국 공연단은 창작 인도네시아 전통음악인 인도로그와 창작부가 흐르는 툴을 함께 연주했습니다. 한국 공연단은 아쟁산조와 창작부가 팔의 노래, 가야금 상준주, 도깨비 등을 연주하고 탈풀이 무용과 연주를 통해 인도네시아 관중과 한국 동포들에게 국악의 매력을 알렸습니다. 인도네시아 공연단은 전통악기 가물란으로 앙인 민미리, 랭게란 시지리마, 알룰루 알리드 등 신비롭고 발랄한 자바와 슬라웨시, 마카사르 등의 전통음악을 선보였습니다.
그렇군요. So the highlight of the event was the joint performance featuring traditional musical instruments from both countries. The performance groups played the original Indonesian traditional music, Indo Logo, and the Korean traditional music together. And the Korean performers also showcased traditional instruments such as the Ajeng Sanjo and their original composition of the Song of the Bow, as well as the Kayagum Trio, Goblin, and they also showcased the 살풀이 dance and performance, introducing the charm of Korean traditional music to the Indonesian audience and Korean residents in Indonesia. And the Indonesian group, using traditional gamelan instruments, performed mystical and vibrant traditional music. But if I'm thinking of these just kind of happening, the performance happening, I'm sure it was not easy to work together prior to the performance. 협연 무대가 쉽지만은 않았을 것 같습니다.
네, 맞습니다. 이번 무대를 위해 양국의 공연단은 몇 달 전부터 온라인으로 음악 파일을 주고받으며 협연을 준비했는데요. 지난 23일 한국 공연단이 인도네시아에 입국한 뒤에는 매일 8시간 넘게 함께 연습하며 호흡을 맞췄습니다. 1,000석의 관람석을 꽉 채운 관객들은 국악과 인도네시아 전통음악의 만남에 손뼉을 치며 환호했습니다.
I see. Well, that's great to hear. So for this event, both performance groups exchanged music files online and prepared for the collaboration for several months. After the Korean performance group arrived in Indonesia on the 23rd, they practiced together for over 8 hours a day to synchronize their performances. And at the event, 1,000 seats were all filled, right? And they applauded and cheered the harmonious fusion of traditional music from Korea and Indonesia. Well, that's wonderful to hear. And that's going to do it for today's correspondent report coming from Indonesia, Jakarta, Miss Lee Young-mi. 네, 인도네시아 소식은 여기까지 듣겠습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. 인도네시아 자카르타에서 통신원 이영미였습니다.
All right. And that's going to do it for correspondent reports. And listeners, stay tuned.
부산 영어방송에서는 국제도시 부산의 차세대 글로벌 리더들을 위한 청소년 영어 말하기 대회를 개최합니다.
BEFM will hold the English speech contest for the next leaders of Busan City.
문화 교육 특구, 자랑스러운 동래구의 청소년 홍보대사들이 이야기하는 부산의 동래는 어떤 모습일까요?
I'm going to introduce my hometown 동래.
The name Dongdaegu came about in 1957.
Mountain Gumjeong's appeal its charm whenever the season changes.
There are Dongdae pageant, Dongdae octopus, and Dongdae rice soup.
From the stories of students in Dongdaegu, a representative traditional district in Busan, we can imagine the future of Dongdae and look forward to the bright future of the global city Busan.
2차 예선에 걸친 최종 10인의 본선 대결, 그리고 참가자 50인이 펼치는 영어 도전 골든벨에서 지역 청소년들이 꿈꾸는 부산의 미래를 확인해 보세요.
We invite you to the Dongnae Youth English Speech Contest on August the 26th at 2 p.m. at the Dongnae Cultural Center.
이 행사는 동래구청과 BFM 부산 영어방송이 함께합니다.
Well, welcome back to Busan Worldwide. I'm your host, Stephanie Yoon. The time is now 11:53. And as you can hear while you're tuning in to BEFM all day, throughout the day, there's so many different events going on. I do hope that if you're residing here in Busan, you take those opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities as well. Now, listeners, before we wrap up, I do want to check out some of the messages coming in. We have a lot of people just checking in, saying good morning. We have 일류의 충전소님, 주브로님, and Nobody Becomes Somebody님 just saying good morning, hello, 안녕하세요. Thank you so much for checking in and tuning in to Busan Worldwide today. I hope that you will tune in tomorrow again at 11:05 a.m. for more interviews, Up Busan 2030, and also Correspondent Report connecting with our reporters around the world. Well, with that, we do have to wrap up today's show. This program was produced by Tina Park, written by Bang Mira. I've been your host, Stephanie Yoon, and the final song for today is Billy Joel with Piano. I'll see you tomorrow.
It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. The regular crowd shuffles in. There's an old man sitting next to me, making love to his tonic and gin. I'm not really sure how it goes, but it's sad and it's sweet, and I knew it complete when I wore a younger man's clothes. La 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 li li la, la la li li la, la la. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. Well, we're all in the mood for a melody, and you've got us feeling all right. Now John at the bar is a friend of mine. Gets me my drinks for free, and he's quick with a joke or to light up your smoke, but there's some place that he'd rather be. And the waitress is practicing politics as the businessmen slowly get stoned. Yes, they're sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone.
Transforming our world. Navigating toward a better future. The great transformation begins right here in Busan through the 2030 Busan Worldexpo. Busan will set a new course toward a better tomorrow for the Earth and for humanity. So we need your support to start a new movement.
I support.
지지합니다.
I support.